The legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni is about to intensify as Baldoni is reportedly preparing to file a countersuit against Lively, claiming she orchestrated a smear campaign against him. As the tension mounts, both teams are gearing up for what could be a high-stakes legal showdown. We're going to break down the latest in this dramatic case. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner, in for Jesse Weber. This is a Law&Crime legal alert. Did you know that children are being diagnosed with serious conditions like type 2 diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? And research is potentially leaking ultra-processed foods to these outcomes. Well, Morgan & Morgan is stepping in to fight to hold food companies accountable. With decades of experience fighting large corporations, they're ready to stand up for families who deserve justice. So if your child under 21 has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or fatty liver disease, visit www.forthepeople.com/food to learn more. The legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has now escalated into a bitter and public dispute, as we are now hearing reports that Justin Baldoni is preparing to file a countersuit against Blake Lively that could come down in the matter of days. That suit is expected to introduce a shocking new twist into this case, that Blake Lively was crafting her own smear campaign against Justin Baldoni. Since Lively filed her complaint on December 20th, Baldoni has faced public backlash and a whole new lawsuit from his former publicist accusing him of breaching his contract with her. We'll get more into that in just a bit, but first, let's start off with what we know about this possible countersuit. Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, made it clear in a statement to People that this impending lawsuit will expose what he says is the truth behind Lively's complaint. He said, quote, "This is not a response or countersuit. It's a deliberate pursuit of truth." Friedman also critiqued the story published by the New York Times titled "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine," saying the article was based on a nefarious source and failed to adequately fact-check the allegations surrounding the alleged smear campaign. As for when we can expect Baldoni's countersuit, the Daily Mail is reporting that Baldoni is planning to file this countersuit as soon as the courts reopen in January. The outlet is also saying that Baldoni's filing will include claims about Lively's PR team headed by Leslie Salone, and even possible accusations that Salone orchestrated a campaign to smear Baldoni and not the other way around. Salone responded to those claims in a statement to People magazine saying, quote, "It is clear that Mr. Baldoni and his Wayfarer associates are suggesting that I originated press stories about HR complaints on set, which is false." Salone also urged people to read Lively's complaint and the lawsuit filed by Stephanie Jones, Baldoni's former publicist. The mounting tension between the legal teams as well as the public statements from each side seemingly show that this legal battle is only the beginning. With Baldoni's countersuit reportedly set to be filed very soon, it's clear that both sides are preparing for what could be a bitter, high-profile showdown, one that could possibly reveal explosive new details about what really transpired behind the scenes on set. So how did we get here? I want to take you back to December 20th, when Blake Lively filed her complaint that set this whole legal saga into motion. In her complaint, Lively accuses her It Ends With Us co-star, who was also the director of the film, Justin Baldoni, of creating a hostile work environment while they were filming the movie, which was released in August of this year and is now streaming on Netflix. If you haven't seen the movie, it's based on Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel, and it follows Lively's portrayal of 23-year-old Lily Bloom, a college graduate who moves to Boston and falls for neurosurgeon Ryle Kincaid, played by Baldoni. However, their relationship takes a dark turn as the character of Ryle becomes abusive. Lively's lawsuit claims that the abusive dynamic on screen was mirrored off screen, with Baldoni allegedly engaging in repeated acts of harassment, ranging from unwanted physical contact to inappropriate comments and creating a pervasive atmosphere of fear and anxiety throughout the production. Lively says Baldoni was engaging in a pattern of harassment and degrading behavior on the set, and she claims he did a number of intrusive things, including walking into her makeup trailer unexpectedly while she was breastfeeding her baby, discussing an alleged past pornography addiction, and alluding to non-consensual sexual experiences. But perhaps the most egregious claim came from a scene they filmed together on set, when Lively claims Baldoni suddenly pressured her into doing a birth scene fully nude. According to the complaint obtained by Law&Crime, on the day of shooting the scene in which Miss Lively's character gives birth, Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath suddenly pressured Miss Lively to simulate full nudity, despite no mention of nudity for this scene in the script, her contract, or in previous creative discussions. Mr. Baldoni insisted to Ms. Lively that women give birth naked and that his wife had ripped her clothes off during labor. He claimed it was not normal for women to remain in their hospital gowns while giving birth. Ms. Lively disagreed, but felt forced into a compromise that she would be naked from below the chest down. During another scene, Lively claims Baldoni improvised a kissing scene according to the complaint. Mr. Baldoni discreetly bit and sucked on Ms. Lively's lower lip during a scene in which he improvised numerous kisses on each take. Mr. Baldoni insisted on shooting the full scene over and over again, well beyond what would have been required on an ordinary set, and without advance notice or consent. Lively's complaint also details instances of Baldoni allegedly verbally degrading her, including one particular instance she says happened right in her makeup trailer. According to the complaint, on the second day of filming, for example, Mr. Baldoni made the rest of the cast and crew wait for hours while he cried in Miss Lively's dressing room, claiming social media commenters were saying that Miss Lively looked old and unattractive based on the paparazzi photos from the set. Now, according to Lively, all of this created a hostile work environment, but not just for her. She says this also affected other cast members as well, including an unnamed actor who was also allegedly harassed by Baldoni. According to Lively, a meeting was arranged on January 4th of this year to discuss these issues on set. According to the filing, that meeting included Baldoni, Wayfarer Studio CEO Jamie Heath, other executives, Lively, and her husband Ryan Reynolds acting as her representative. During that meeting, Lively's legal team claims Baldoni agreed to several changes on set, which included the introduction of an intimacy coordinator, an agreement to cease any improvised kissing or physical contact, a promise to refrain from discussions about Baldoni's sex life, including any references to past encounters or an alleged pornography addiction. Now, there are 30 points on that list, and apparently all parties agreed to make these changes to successfully complete and market the film. But unfortunately, according to Lively, this agreement only opened the door for further issues after filming wrapped. And this is where we get to Justin Baldoni's alleged retaliation and purported smear campaign. Lively's complaint takes a dramatic turn, as it alleges that after production, Baldoni, Jennifer Abel, who was an employee of his publicist, crisis manager Melissa Nathan, who had worked for Johnny Depp during his defamation trial against Amber Heard, and Wayfarer co-founder Steve Sarowitz orchestrated a media smear campaign against Lively in retaliation for her complaints. Now, part of her complaint is that they launched what is known as an astroturfing campaign, which is defined in the complaint as the practice of publishing opinions or comments on the internet, in the media, etc., that appear to come from ordinary members of the public, but actually come from a particular company or political group. And this goal, Lively argues, was to flood social media and outlets with negative stories about her, but presenting these stories as if they were just natural reactions from the public. Also embedded in Lively's complaint are texts and emails that are pretty explosive. Before I get into that, a big question in this case has been circulating around how Lively, who at the time of this sidebar taping has not officially filed a lawsuit, again, this is just a complaint, was able to obtain these texts and emails. A member of Blake Lively's team told the Los Angeles Times that the messages came from the phone of Jennifer Abel. Remember, she's the employee of the publicist who was working with Baldoni at the time. And as for how her team got these messages from Abel's phone, there is a footnote in the complaint that says Ms. Lively obtained the communication set forth in this complaint through legal process, including a civil subpoena. And that's really all that we know right now. It still remains unclear how exactly this subpoena was issued, but back to the details of these communications. In Lively's complaint, there is a reported conversation between Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel regarding using the media to bury Lively's reputation. That exchange begins allegedly with Jennifer Abel saying he being Baldoni, wants to feel like she being Blake Lively, can be buried. With Melissa Nathan responding, "You know we can bury anyone, but I can't write that to him allegedly being about Baldoni." That supposedly happened on August 2nd. Less than 2 weeks later, the Daily Mail published a headline asking, "Is Blake Lively set to be canceled?" As a part of this negative press attention, Lively argues she suffered very real damages from this, not just to her reputation, but to her business interests. According to the complaint, the sales of Lively's hair care company, Blake Brown, dropped by 56 to 58% in August, and that's where Lively's complaint stands. As for Justin Baldoni, his lawyer, Brian Friedman, has been adamant in denying these allegations, saying in a statement, "These claims are completely false, outrageous, and intentionally salacious with an intent to publicly hurt and rehash a narrative in the media." He went on to say that the role of Melissa Nathan, the crisis manager, was to protect Baldoni. Wayfarer Studios made the decision to proactively hire a crisis manager prior to the marketing campaign of the film to work alongside their own representative, with Jones Works employed by Stephanie Jones, due to the multiple demands and threats made by Miss Lively during production, which included her threatening to not show up to set, threatening to not promote the film, ultimately leading to its demise during release if her demands were not met. He also says the complaint was filed by Lively to protect her negative reputation. It's important to mention that Lively's reputation did take a hit when she promoted the film, and what she says was a more uplifting manner, though critics say her promotion was tone deaf and that she failed to highlight the domestic violence aspect of the film in some of her interviews. Following the filing of Lively's complaint, she's also received a handful of support from celebrities, including Amber Heard, who said in a statement to NBC News, "Social media is an absolute personification of the classic saying a lie travels halfway around the world before the truth can get its boots on. I saw this firsthand and up close. It's as horrifying as it is destructive." She was referring to her past relationship and legal battle with Johnny Depp, where she suffered a loss in a defamation suit filed by the actor that awarded him $15 million in total damages. Most recently, actor Abigail Breslin has voiced her support for Blake Lively, voicing in an Instagram post, "When did the word woman become synonymous with scapegoat?" before going on to share her own experience with an unnamed male colleague, where she says her concerns were also dismissed. While she did not name him specifically, she was at the center of a legal battle with actor Aaron Eckhart back in 2023, when a lawsuit was filed that has since been withdrawn, accusing Eckhart of acting unprofessionally towards her while on set of their film Classified. Breslin's post went on to say, "Why are we always so quick to defend a man after he is accused of bad behavior? But if a woman speaks out, she's clearly a liar. I find most people believe the approval of a man is far more significant than the burden of supporting a woman. For men, it is always innocent until proven guilty. For women, it's the opposite. Prove your fear, prove your discomfort, prove your pain. This must change." Now, as all of this legal drama has unfolded, Baldoni's situation has become a lot more complicated. The biggest twist to this case is the lawsuit filed against him by his former publicist, Stephanie Jones, and we'll dive into that in just a moment. But Baldoni suffered some immediate consequences in the fallout of Lively's complaint. He was dropped by the talent agency WME, which also represents both Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Furthermore, the organization Vital Voices rescinded an honor they previously gave to Baldoni, the Voices of Solidarity Award. Baldoni also has a podcast called Man Enough, which he used to co-host with journalist Liz Plank, but Plank decided to step down from the podcast following Lively's complaint. Now Jones is suing Baldoni for breach of contract, claiming that her employee Jennifer Abel, along with Melissa Nathan, conspired to steal Baldoni and Wayfarer as clients from her company Jones Works, while also simultaneously smearing her by attempting to pin the blame on her for the alleged takedown of Blake Lively. In her lawsuit, Jones says she came across this alleged plot after she fired Jennifer Abel when she discovered documents that she says confirmed Abel was trying to steal clients. When she looked inside Abel's work phone, Jones says she found explosive texts. According to her lawsuit, as the August 2024 release neared, Baldoni began to fear that the increased attention being paid to him and the film would cause reports of allegations about his on-set misbehavior to come out. Abel and Nathan, with encouragement from Heath and without Jones's knowledge or approval, began to formulate a no-holds-barred strategy to discredit and suppress any potential revelations about Baldoni's on-set behavior. And so as Abel and Nathan started supposedly working together, Abel allegedly put a plan in motion with Nathan to steal Baldoni. There are screen grabs of text messages between Jennifer Abel and Melissa Nathan in Jones's lawsuit, allegedly revealing this conspiracy to poach Baldoni. One such message from Nathan to Abel reads, quote, "And once you are gone, we will be on the accounts together and make really good money and be happy. Let's keep it steering that way. And you take this client and never talk to her again. I swear to God." As for where Baldoni specifically comes into this, Jones says he is responsible for not only allowing Abel to breach her employment contract with Jones, but for also breaching his own contract with Jones to instead work with Abel and not paying out the rest of what he owed her for her services. According to the suit, on or about August 30th, 2024, a representative of Wayfarer informed Jones that Wayfarer and Baldoni would no longer require Jones Works' services, and thereafter refused to pay all amounts owed under the Wayfarer agreement. Wayfarer and Baldoni have breached the Wayfarer agreement through their actions as described in this complaint, including, among other things, 1, failing to pay the amounts contractually owed under the agreement, 2, soliciting and inducing Abel to depart Jones Works, and 3, employing Abel following her departure from Jones Works. In her suit, Jones is asking for compensatory and punitive damages, and this is where we currently stand. Again, we could see that counter lawsuit from Justin Baldoni in just days. And as for Lively, her team is currently waiting on a decision from the California Civil Rights Department, which has 60 days from the day of her filing to determine if they will investigate the matter further. If the department declines to pursue the case, Lively can then decide to head to trial. I want to bring on now a very special guest, and that's former federal prosecutor, now criminal defense attorney, Nima Rahmani. Nima, it's always so great to see you. I want to get your take on this. What do you make of this legal battle between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, especially now that Baldoni is threatening to file a counter lawsuit against Blake Lively?
I was floored when I first heard the allegations last week, and now the parties are going after each other, and it's just getting nastier. So it's going to be interesting to see what Baldoni and his legal team do to counterpunch here. Obviously, Lively has raised some pretty serious allegations of sexual harassment. And here in California, we're very employee friendly when it comes to those types of issues. So is Baldoni going to come out and basically say that this was all a lie? This was all for PR to help Lively? I don't know, but I'm very interested to see what that filing is going to contain after the new year.
And Blake Lively only filed a complaint at this time. It's not necessarily a lawsuit. So can you talk to me a little bit about the differences between the two?
Well, it's a precursor to filing a lawsuit. So in California, you do have to exhaust your administrative remedies. And that means to file a complaint with the California Department of Employment and Fair Housing and the DFEH. And that's the equivalent to the EEOC just at the state level. So usually, almost always, that is step one to filing a civil lawsuit. And given the back and forth, I would be shocked if this doesn't proceed to some sort of litigation. I mean, we've seen this before when someone wants to send a message or clear their name. And probably the most prominent case recently was Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Yeah, and this case is kind of starting to feel and mirror that similar situation again, too. You know, in your opinion, how much of this do you think is just PR tactics overall, or do you think that this complaint does hold some serious weight to it?
Well, I think the complaint is serious and it holds weight, but to address your point, I think this is all about PR. This isn't about money. Blake Lively doesn't need money. Justin Baldoni doesn't need money. The production company doesn't need money, right? This is about their reputation, their name in Hollywood. That's worth more than any amount of money because we've seen people get canceled. I mean, look at Depp, right? He was essentially canceled before that lawsuit. Every one of his sponsors except one dropped him. I mean, we saw Baldoni, his agency dropped him. So things can unravel pretty quickly here. And that reputation, that PR component is everything. And that's why I expect this case to move forward.
And a big kind of mystery surrounding this complaint is surrounding those text messages that were exposed. Those texts were also cited, or the texts that were cited in Lively's complaint, I should say. Now, first, what is a civil subpoena? And second, do you think it's possible that the evidence was altered like Baldoni's lawyer alluded to?
Well, Baldino's lawyer said that they were either altered or taken out of context. So in a civil case, we see discovery go both ways. So oftentimes here on Law&Crime, we're talking about criminal cases, obviously. In a criminal case, the prosecution, they give over the evidence to the defense. The defense doesn't have to do anything. They don't have to give the government their strategy or the evidence that they have, right? But in a civil case, it goes both ways. So the parties can subpoena one another and they could subpoena text messages that are relevant. So here, what we're talking about are text messages from Baldoni's PR team, allegedly saying that they want to bury Blake Lively. And it really shows the sort of underbelly of Hollywood publicists. And, you know, I represent a lot of people against celebrities, and oftentimes they have very strong publicists that'll come out and plant stories and get folks on social media to say that the person that they're going after has issues. In this case, Baldioni's PR team was allegedly saying that Blake Lively was difficult to work with. She didn't respect victims of domestic violence. She brought her husband into the movie. So all sorts of things to really paint her in a bad light. Now, again, I don't know if any of this is true or not, but it really shows a concerted PR campaign to potentially destroy someone.
And do you think it's possible this heated legal battle could go to trial, or do you see the two possibly settling out of court?
Well, the vast majority of cases do settle. Even the nasty ones in Hollywood recently, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie settled their 8-year divorce, and no one thought that was possible. So certainly the odds are in favor of a settlement, but to the extent that the rhetoric gets ratcheted up and individuals are trying to save their career, that makes it much more likely that the case goes to trial. Not necessarily because they want to win any amount of money necessarily, but because they want to clear their name. And we've seen folks in Hollywood do this. We saw Gwyneth Paltrow push her ski case all the way to trial and ask for nothing, just $1, because she wanted to send a message that she wasn't going to be pushed around and bullied. And one consideration in taking a case all the way to trial is the ability to pay your lawyers. And obviously, we know Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni have a lot of money to pay their lawyers, so that makes it increasingly more likely as this case progresses.
And it seems like the big kind of issue for both parties is that there was damage to both of their reputations, right? So in terms of damages to both their reputations, do you ever see kind of a comeback for either side at this point in terms of their career?
Well, I think Justin Baldoni has the greater risk here. If he was indeed showing pornography, talking about sexual activity and organs. I mean, that's the textbook definition of a hostile work environment. You can't have a sexually charged workplace in California. So if that's true, and Baldoni has always come out as someone that is in favor of the feminist movement and women's rights and equality in the workplace, that's pretty damaging. Now, we haven't seen that evidence yet. Obviously, there's been a lot of reports and speculation as to what happened during the production of the movie. But I think as far as who is in a more precarious position right now, because of the nature of the allegations, I would be concerned if I were Baldoni. But I'm interested to see what his lawyer puts out when he files that lawsuit.
And, when I saw all of this start to first unfold, even, leading up to the premiere of this movie, there was a lot of kind of a conversation, especially on TikTok, just about both sides. But in your opinion, what do you think about people and their fascination with this case? It seems like a lot of people kind of have their different opinions. But in your opinion, what do you think the fascination is from the public side of this case?
Well, I mean, you're talking about some pretty big celebrities here in Hollywood, right? Blake Lively, of course, married to Ryan Reynolds, huge celebrity. They're very big on social media. Some people love them, some people hate them. So the fact that they have this unique banter on social media, they have a lot of followers, tens of millions of followers. So they're pretty established. Now, there's some folks that don't like them, and but I think the social media component is what really started this, and this is why. I mean, people were on social media and they noticed that they weren't following each other, even though they're starring in the same movie, and then they would go to premieres and they wouldn't take pictures together. So people started asking, is there some sort of riff or disagreement between the two? And of course, then the sources came out and the tabloids here, and it confirmed that speculation. So I think the nature of Blake Lively, who she's married to, the sort of build up because of their presence on social media, the pretty explosive nature of the allegations. Someone's talking about having sex with their wife on set. I mean, that's pretty serious stuff. I think it really created the perfect storm of a lot of social media and traditional media interest in this case.
All right, Nima Rahmani, great to hear your insight into this case. Before we sign you off, though, where do you think everything kind of goes from here?
I think we'll know more on January 2nd or shortly thereafter, after the lawsuit is filed. I mean, if we see some serious allegations against Blake Lively. I think we're going to see this litigated for quite some time. Usually these cases go in one of two directions. There's cooler heads prevail, and there's a settlement relatively soon because the parties realize that the damage to their reputation is real and it really can't be undone. But I think we're sort of past that now, and the parties are going to have to fight it out at least for a little bit before there's any sort of resolution. So I think this is going to go well into 2025.
All right, and I guess we'll have to wait and see how this all continues to play out. Nima Rahmani, again, thank you so much for your time today. Always appreciated, and I always want to wish you a Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having me. Talk to you soon.
Well, that does it for this episode of Sidebar. If you want to listen to more of us, be sure to subscribe to us anywhere you listen to your podcasts, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. I'm Elizabeth Millner, in for Jesse Weber, who is taking some well-deserved time off. And on behalf of all of us here at Law&Crime, I want to wish you all a happy and safe New Year's.